Welcome to Cooking Up Some History. Each week during the holiday season, we're going to be rating the Chester County History Center Library's old cookbooks and giving their vintage recipes our best shot. The successes, the flops, and all. Today we're cooking something with the best name ever, Roly Poly, just like the Bob Wills song. Now, we're kind of combining two recipes here. The first one, for Roly Poly, literally just says, take a round steak or flank, make a filling, roll it, boil it 1.5 to 2 hours. That's it. No info, no filling, just pure early 20th century creativity. The second recipe, for beef roll, is basically an early Pennsylvania meatloaf. And that one calls for 1 pound of chopped beef, egg, parsley, butter, breadcrumbs, and bake 30 minutes. So I think we're going to take the technique from the second and combine it with the roly-poly from the first so we're not boiling, and see how this turns out. But before we cook, a little history. Roly-poly is basically Pennsylvania's take on German rouladen, those rolled, stuffed beef bundles that show up all across Central Europe in the 1800s. Thin, tough cuts of beef pounded flat, filled with vegetables or bacon, rolled tight, cooked low and slow. Pennsylvania German families brought that technique here, and by the early 1900s, it shows up in local community cookbooks as roly-poly, usually stripped down to just a sentence or two, which brings us to the 1907 Brandywine Farmers Club cookbook. Let's get started. For the mystery instruction, make a filling, after looking around my fridge and pantry, I wanted to make a sort of loaded baked potato filling with some mushrooms. So that's where we're heading. To start with the mushrooms, wash them and then use a lint-free cloth or air dry them, whatever your kitchen confidence allows. First, we're going to start with the onions. Use a little olive oil or butter, whatever you have handy, and go ahead and start sauteing your onions. Once they get translucent, you can then add your mushrooms, a little rosemary and thyme, and then cook those down until the moisture cooks off. For the mashed potato part, boil them until tender but not mushy. I kind of want them a little stiff and firm, and when they're done, we're not going to use cream, we're just going to put some butter in there because we want them dry and fluffy. Mix in your mushroom and onion blend, and then before the next step, we'll add some eggs to bind. After you've got everything mixed, go ahead and cool it down in the fridge. My wife chopped the bell peppers here because she's way better at making little cubes than I am. I didn't saute these because I like them to have a little texture and a little crunch, and it'll retain their color and sort of visual appearance a little bit more. To prep the meat, I didn't find one giant flank steak that had already been pressed out, so I kind of used 2 smaller ones that the grocery store had available and butterflied them. Or I kind of butterflied them. I cut them horizontally down the center, keeping one end attached like a hinge. Then I pounded them with a mallet, and I added the second one on to kind of form one unified piece of meat. I'm sure this is a historically accurate technique, but it worked for me, and it didn't involve any kind of sewing or pinning the 2 cuts together. For the assembly process, we're going to spread a thin, even layer of the cold potato mushroom mix across the meat. Thin enough to roll without escaping, but thick enough to get that pinwheel look. You can do cheese here too, it's optional. But if it was me, I'd go for something like feta or goat cheese so you don't end up with like an oily slip and slide. Once you've got your mix spread on, scatter the peppers over the top and then roll it carefully like a burrito, like a giant 1900 burrito. During this process, some filling will fall out. It's inevitable, but it's fine. Just kind of scrape it and move along. And tie it with kitchen twine. Make sure it's really secure. We don't want it loose and expanding and having the filling spill out everywhere. I baked it at 375 degrees in a greased pan, but if you wanted to, you could also put it on a rack to get some more air underneath it. Baste it with some butter before you put it in, and then every 15 or 20 minutes, kind of check on it, then baste it a little bit more. Eventually, I wanted to see how it was doing inside, so I checked the internal temp. It got up to about 140, and I went ahead and pulled it and cut off one of the ends just to see how it was doing. The center was still really pink, which stuffed beef rolls love to do even when they're fully cooked, so don't fret that. But just for good measure, I tossed it back in for a few minutes, pulled it back out, and then let it rest under some tinfoil. When it was warm, and it cooled down to about room temperature a little bit more, it still didn't slice perfectly. But I did find, after letting it rest overnight and with the leftovers, it came out perfect. And so it might be worth it sort of letting it go as one full roll in your fridge and then recutting, it's up to you. But it might be one of those dishes that's better the next day. So that's my mashup of the 1907 Roly Poly and beef roll. Sort of a half rouladen, half meatloaf, full Pennsylvania farmhouse energy recipe. These old cookbooks give you the skeleton of a recipe and expect you to figure out the missing pieces, and that's sort of what I did here. So don't hesitate to experiment, and if you try this on your own and make any additions or changes, let us know in the comments. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos in this series. See you next time, and thanks for watching.